Welcome to the latest This Week's Acca podcast, sponsored by Sky Bet Acca Freeze. Tom, Joe and Jimmy cuddling there in the corner with you to run through the schedule. Coming up on this episode then, we are going across the leagues. We're focusing a bit on the Premier League for once. A number of games there catching our eye before we settle on 4 teams around the 12-1 marker. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel to ensure that you never miss an episode. And remember to keep it fun. Never bet more you can afford. This podcast is 18+. Please gamble responsibly. Before we move on to build our Acca for this week, let's start as we always do by looking back. What happened last weekend, Joe? It feels like it was the same old story of wins and draws.
Yeah, so on paper, it was close. So York won, Forest Green won, Huddersfield won, Crewe drew with Salford, Millwall drew with Derby, but it was just another one that it was never on, and it just never quite felt like it was going to happen. So York and Huddersfield just pissed their way to winning. Forest Green, it was a late winner, the kind of one that if that gets the Acca over the line, then you're so happy. But Crewe and Salford, it was 1-1 pretty much the entire game, and if anything, Salford looked like the most likely to win. And Millwall Derby 0-0 until late on. Derby scored, then Millwall scored. So
you tried to warn them. You tried to warn them about that game, didn't you? I was listening.
Yeah,
To that bit.
just that one bit. Oh, cheers, mate.
Yeah.
So it was just one of those frustrating ones, wasn't it? But I feel positive going into this week when you're on the correct thread like that, and it is pretty close.
That's good, because I was just about to ask you,
feel
how's
positive.
your mental state going into this week after last week's defeat, but you said it's positive.
No, I do feel positive, because last week it's not like you're a million miles off completely misjudging how teams are going to be, because the two that didn't come in, Crewe and Millwall, they were both great prices. Millwall were even money. Crewe were 13-10 to beat Salford. The 3 that won were the 3 odds-on shots. So the reason why we got 16-1 initially, then it got cut into 14s, was because we'd had those 2 ones that were really good value. So they were always going to be a slightly bigger risk.
What have you spent that value on? 2 points of value.
It's moral winning, it.
Moral winners.
So, small bit of education for you as a novice bettor, Jimmy. And, over the long term, then if we're picking out the value, then we'll come out as winners.
Will you? But will you? Because this is what always gets me. You could have 100 valuable selections and not win any, technically, couldn't you? Because it's all down to chance, really. Tom, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Just because you get value doesn't mean it's going to win. Although we are looking for value.
Jimmy's column usually contains around
himself-
1,000 to 1. I'll score a bet. So
Talking himself out of a job here, isn't
yeah,
it?
this is good.
What is value?
My own Tuesday Acca got chinned by 1 draw, and it was 100 to 1. So if that makes anyone feel better, Tamworth drew a Yeovil.
Are we allowed to do our own Accas?
You're allowed. You know what? I'll allow
know
it.
we were allowed
your
to.
own time. A Tamworth to beat Yeovil, and Grimsby to beat Tranmere, and they're about 3 to 1. Preston to beat Norwich, and I got done got the 2-up thing with who I backed it with.
Yep, very good.
Cardiff to beat Portsmouth, and something else.
That feels spiteful, because I tipped Portsmouth and you was like,
well, to be fair,
no
we
way.
did do this in the office because we debated. We will actually talk about this week's Acca very shortly. We did our daily tipping thing. If you go on the site, you'll find like our daily tipping column.
Our jobs.
And I wanted the Cardiff Portsmouth game. You took it. I went in and saw you put Portsmouth up. I said, no, absolutely not.
I couldn't believe
and I
it.
would have gone in and tipped Cardiff to score 3+ goals. So we would have both lost, Jimmy, whichever way it went.
Tom's
There we go.
Tom's weekly column on the website, Tom's Notebook, give it a read on a Monday. The whole premise of that in the EFL this week was about how much improved Cardiff are under their caretaker manager, Omar Reza. Playing really well, creating loads of chances. Tip from Jimmy, Portsmouth to win at Cardiff. When that comes up, I'm thinking, oh dear, he's not been reading Tom's stuff, has he? Or maybe he has, and he's taking the piss out of you.
Maybe.
You got a column.
I wouldn't read it.
Congratulations.
I wouldn't read it.
Just quickly, on the
yeah.
midweek fixtures, did you
Go
see
on.
how many goals came inside 15 minutes?
A lot.
All of them, pretty much, yeah. I thought that was crazy.
There we go.
Jimmy.
Jimmy, you're back, and you love to read comments. Any good ones that you've got for us?
No, nothing really relevant.
Excellent.
It was like everyone talking about the games as they're going on, but not really fun to look back on. So, if you're sad about the Acca losing, please let us know. If you're happy about it winning,
And maybe
let
they'll
us
be
know.
happy about it winning this week.
Nice.
Jimmy, you can kick us off.
Yes, I've got one. That's good because I have got one really
Start
strong
building this
fancy.
week's. Go on then.
One strong one.
Give it to us.
You Reds! Joe will know all about Barnsley's away form. Brilliant. Home form crap. They go to Shrewsbury this weekend. There was 19-20 before Tuesday's game. Last time I checked, early this morning, they've drifted 2 odds on, which is not good if you're a Shrewdy. But
Or a Shrewsbury. Carry on.
Hey-yo. Yeah, but away from home, last 3 seasons, and it defies all logic because I've had so many different managers over that time, but 4th best side away from home in 2022-23, season after 3rd best, this season 2nd best. Home, they're rubbish though. They've only won 5 of the last 18 this calendar year, but that's not relevant because they're not playing at home, they're playing away. And Shrewsbury, they've only got 2 wins, 1 point, 2 wins, 1 at home, 4 points.
Bet your point. There you go.
Nailed it.
Excited today, isn't he?
I have no point in me commenting on this. There's better place people to talk about it. I will add that Shrewsbury's ground is being used in the Europa Conference League.
You are kidding.
That's exciting, isn't it? The new
Or
Welsh.
a Welsh team, yeah. Who would it be? The New Saints or
The
something
New
like that?
Saints, yeah, have to use their grounds, obviously not to scratch. So Shrewsbury, you could go and watch League One, but if you time it, you can also go and watch 3 Europa Conference League fixtures. I think one's tonight, though. We're recording on the Thursday, so be quick if you want to get that one. But yeah.
Long weekend in Shrewsbury.
Yeah? Oh, you could do that. Europa Conference League. Don't even know they're playing tonight. They did have Fiorentina in the last game. That was a goodie. And then you can watch Barnsley, presumably turn over Shrewsbury, yes or no?
I don't think we can be trusting Barnsley at the minute, unfortunately. As much as I would love to throw my weight behind Barnsley winning at Shrewsbury, I just don't think they can be trusted at the moment. Far too unpredictable in their performances. The Tuesday against Charlton is a case in point. Played really, really well. 1-0 up. Didn't manage to score a second goal when they ought to have. And it's just individual defensive errors. And there's no particular player that's doing it. Terrible defending to go 1-1. Then not very good defending to go 2-1. And then scored straight from kickoff for 2-2. And it's happened repeatedly this season. It's just they can't be relied upon. Need to see more from them.
Not worth the risk then at a odds against-ish price.
No. I actually got asked by Matt catching on from
Nobody
Jimmy.
can speak
Matt
today.
Brocklebank,
Of
one of our horse racing experts, about putting Barnsley in Acca a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, probably need to leave it a month or 2 now because of the unpredictability element.
Where should we go instead?
I'd be starting in the Premier League with Aston Villa to beat Bournemouth at 19-20.
Surprised by this price.
Same.
I mean, I don't know if I'm going to give away too much in the fact that I think all the home teams are good in the Prem this Saturday. But yes, Villa, talk.
Yeah, I mean, I've got loads of notes, so I'll try and say them as quickly as I possibly can.
Like I did.
Best start to a Premier League season since 1998. Won all 3 of the Champions League matches. 3 straight clean sheets at home. Only defeat at home since the 10th of March was 2-0 at home to Arsenal. First league game at home this season. They should have won that game as well. All their injured players coming back. So this was their bench against Bologna on Tuesday. Ollie Watkins, Boubacar Kamara, Jacob Ramsey, Jadon Philogene, Emi Buendia, Ross Barkley, Luca Dean, Tyrone Mings, Matty Cash. Bournemouth, I can't believe that is there even money to be... He's suspended, yeah.
Stick with me, you'll go far.
Yeah, they just haven't... They haven't done enough this season to justify that price. It makes very, very little sense. And yes, they beat Arsenal, who were down to 10 men for the majority of the game, but they're a middling to lower mid-table Premier League team. And away from home, they've been really ropey. So they got an 86-minute equaliser at Forest on opening weekend, and then they scored 3 goals after the 87th minute at Everton to win that crazy game 3-2. Other than that, they've lost at West Ham, Liverpool and Leicester without scoring. So, poorish away team against a very, very good team in Aston Villa. It's a bizarre price, to be honest. They should be far, far shorter.
I think as well, to add to this, I'm pretty sure Bournemouth lost every away game at the top 6 last season, I think. I think it was obviously a bit of a problem for them playing the better teams. I don't know why I did that. They are the better teams in the division. They finished higher up. The price, yeah. I mean, I'm all on board with this one.
What is the price again?
19 to 20, so near even money on Aston Villa, who are very, very good. And I don't know if they still are after last night, but at one point this week they were top of the Champions League.
Oh, they are, I think.
Brilliant.
They're either top or they're not. But...
Absolutely flying against Bournemouth. 19 to 20 seems a good price to me.
Yeah, are you happy going against Bournemouth? Because you've got a soft spot for them, haven't you?
Yeah, they did all right last year, didn't they? Yeah, but it is that it's the better teams. There's clearly problems there. I know they beat Arsenal last week, but particularly away from home. It's been the case this season. They've already lost at Liverpool. It was the case last season. There's nothing to suggest that it wouldn't continue, right?
Yeah, I'm happy to get them in.
Should we do it?
Yeah.
First pick then of this week's Acca comes from the Premier League. We are taking Aston Villa for a home win over Bournemouth. Should we stay in the Premier League? Because I touched upon it there that I like the fact all of the home teams look quite Acca-able this weekend.
Arsenal at 1 to 8.
Yeah. Man City at 1 to 8 against Southampton.
Bro.
Yeah, definitely. But the other two, I will mention now. Brighton at home to Wolves is 8 to 13. Brentford at home to Ipswich is 7 to 10. I like both of them. Would anyone else agree that surely when we're building this weekend one, and I know we're usually EFL focused, but the fixture list in the top flight has been quite kind this week, that a couple of them should really be involved when you look at the matchups.
She's been really kind to his old fixture list. The only thing is with Wolves, I just feel like they've been dreadfully unlucky this season.
There is a bit of that, but there's clearly issues playing teams at the top as well, and Brighton at the moment are one of those.
But Brighton are also wedded to this crazy style of play that's proved to be their Achilles heel against Chelsea. And it's always the way with somebody who's so one-dimensional. If a team can figure out a way to play against them, they're vulnerable to just shock results. So that's what put me off Brighton. Brentford, on the other hand, I'd be a lot more inclined to back at 7 to 10 against Ipswich, who I don't know where their first win's going to come from.
Yeah, yet to win, aren't they, Ipswich? We're at the end of October, or approaching the end of October. It's still yet to win a Premier League game. There's been a few draws in there, so they have got points. I think they've drawn 3 or 4 games, maybe. Lost their last 2, though, defeats to Everton and West Ham. And obviously, they are going to win at some stage, of course, but...
Are they, though?
I'd hope so in a 38-game season. But going to Brentford, a side who I feel like we spoke about this before, but clearly are a much better home team than they are away. And I think the mindset of Brentford is when you see them at home in these sort of matchups, and a lot of matchups really in the Premier League, if it's not, say, a Big Six team, you'd always give consideration for them to win at home. And 7 to 10 to beat an Ipswich side who are still winless, to me, looks like a solid selection.
Yeah, the Brentford one I've got down as, I think they maybe just a touch short. So they were 4 to 5 to beat Southampton, and I'm just not sure that it should have come in so much for them to beat Ipswich. So I'm not...
They've won, if you include the Carabao Cup, which I will because it suits the argument, and that's what I do with cup games, Brentford have won 4 of their 5 home games this season. The other, which they didn't, was a 1-1 draw with West Ham.
Yeah, I'm not absolutely against it. Are Brentford that good that they're gonna have them in at 7 to 10 to win at home against anybody?
Ipswich, yes.
Yeah, that would be the concern. The Brighton one, there's no point in going into the extra detail. I would be with Jimmy on it. It just makes me nervous, that game. Yeah.
Halloween.
yeah.
The Halloween special.
Yeah.
That's next week's.
The Brentford one, I would just be wondering whether there are better alternatives at similar prices. And I mean, Tom, you've said it yourself that Ipswich they are going to win a game, and while Brentford are a good home team, then it'll definitely be a match where Ipswich will go there believing that they've got a greater chance. I mean, they went to Brighton and got a 0-0, setting up and being a bit more pragmatic. And it's not going to be a match where they go and they think they're going to be completely outclassed. Brentford are a really well set up team, but they're not full of elite players that are going to completely destroy Ipswich. I mean, I could be proven to look a complete idiot there. But it's how short it is for Brentford to beat Ipswich. I'm just not sure.
We mentioned there's better options at similar prices. Then where are those better options?
Where the hell are they?
Where are they? Where can we go instead?
Where?
I feel like I'm going to have to pick something that's going to...
Yeah, you are, because you just shat all over that pick.
Yeah, that's going to get agreement rather than it being what I like.
Just go with what you like.
I'll switch from my second choice to my third choice because I think you might prefer it. So Wickham to beat Leyton Orient at
I have that one.
even money. Wickham should have been in the Acca so far this season. I can't believe we've not had them in yet. So apologies.
You were on last week.
Yeah, I know. I'm taking the...
You've been on before.
Yeah, as much my fault as anybody's. So end of last season, Wickham only lost one of their final 11 games, won 4 of the last 5. This season, they've carried it straight on, won 7, drawn 2, lost 2. And they really pushed Aston Villa in the Carabao Cup as well. Just a very, very good team. They actually lost their first 2 games of the season, which has helped them stay very, very under the radar. And those games were away at Wrexham and at home to Birmingham, both of them 3-2, and they're the only sides that are above them in the table. They're just an excellent team, unbeaten in 9, so they've won 7, including the last 3 matches. Leyton Orient are just a struggling team in League One, 20th in the table. They battled to a 1-0 win over Rotherham in midweek, but it was their first win in 6. They lost the 3 before it. It's a really nice price at even money.
I have this one down, so I'm not going to say too much more. To be honest, again, it's a pricing that jumps out there. Their brilliant home form, poor away team really adds to it, I think, and it's a nice price. Jimmy, thoughts?
Yeah, love it. And they've got Richard Coney, who's got a hat-trick the other day. 9 minutes, potentially the quickest ever.
I'm sure I saw some stat about something involving him.
I've asked the
Can't
question.
offer you any more than that, but I saw something to do with him.
Well, I don't need any more.
He
vague.
did something around that hat trick. It counted for something. I think we're in agreement.
These are 2 teams managed by Paul Lambert and Martin O'Neill as well. So if we could get the 3rd team managed by one of them, that'd be really, really nice as well.
We'll go through their career and
Football and
Wikipedia
OCD.
paths during the little break then, and let's work out a Lambert O'Neill double that we
I
can
might
go
have found
for.
one actually.
Brilliant. I look forward to hearing about it. Second pick of this week's Acca
Yeah.
then, joining Aston Villa to beat Bournemouth in the Premier League. It's a similar price from League One. It is Wickham to beat Leyton Orient. The double currently around 13-5. We've got 2 teams so far. Let's get a third in. I thrown in a couple of Premier League ones in that last section, so let's hear from Jimmy.
Well, I wanted to get your opinions on one because I wanted to get against Crawley, but I don't know if I want to take Northampton at 23-20, so I'm just wondering if anyone...
We have a Northampton correspondent in the room.
I just wondering if anyone else, Joe, had considered this.
Yeah, no, I hadn't at all. Not just because they haven't... Oh, I'm sorry, I've gone away from the microphone. I'm going to get in trouble there. Yeah, just because Northampton haven't been
That was
great
the
this
problem.
season, yeah.
That was the problem. But Crawley have been bad, and then I thought Northampton would be good. All right, what about Sheffield United at home? Shade of odds on against Stoke. Bar a 6-1. Thrashing have been very average. Are we...
He hates Stoke. He's been banging the drum against Stoke
very
for about
average.
2 weeks.
I'm sure Jimmy said on this podcast at some point last season, just don't get involved in Stoke in
Don't get
any.
involved with Stoke. No, because everyone always
I
says,
agree with him on that.
insert Stoke to go down, insert Stoke to go up. Could this be the year? I was just saying, no, don't get involved with them.
A little thing I like to call 15th. Any issues the Blades have lost back-to-back games?
I didn't know that. They lost back-to-back games. I
have
thought they were
lost
still
back-to-back
unbeaten.
Yes, I'm afraid so.
Yeah.
But then you would caveat it with they were away at Leeds and Middlesbrough, which are tricky away fixtures, to be fair.
Yeah, and I think another thing that's coming into play that you pointed out months ago, Tom, is Fredbear's squad potentially. We started at Riverside with Ollie Arblaster and Peck, and I know they're highly regarded, but they're a couple of 20-year-olds with barely any EFL experience. So,
Sorry, are you making the argument for Stoke to be in here, or...?
no, Sheffield United. I'm just giving everybody all the information. It's a round table. I'm just suggesting a bet.
Jimmy really wanted Norwich in to win at Stoke in the Acca last week when he wasn't on it. He pitched it to 2 separate panellists discreetly. No,
I didn't.
And they drew 1-1.
What happened was Oscar looked at my column and said, "Oh, I like that," and I said, "Yeah, it looks all right."
How did that one work out for you?
Well, if the value was on my side because they crumbled, so I spent.
So,
full clarity,
Stoke 6-1
Sheffield-
over Portsmouth, and they'd drawn the last 3 games, Stoke. And Sheffield United, they were rubbish against Middlesbrough last night, and they were rubbish against Leeds.
Didn't it? Is it? He changed. Wilder did change it at Leeds, though, didn't he? He
Completely
basically
changed the
said, we're gonna do what basically Southampton did last season. We thought that was a good way of doing it. Didn't work for them, so it's not exactly as if they'd. It'd probably be more concerning if they turned up and tried to play in their usual style and then got completely turned over, and then you go in. Okay, there's a bit of an issue, but okay, they tried something that didn't work.
Yeah.
The pressure's probably more on because then they've gone to Middlesbrough and lost. But in terms of needing a reaction, I don't know. I think I'm surprised by the price. I will say that 5-6 on Sheffield United, a team who are expected to be in the top 6 this season.
Thank you.
How often at home are you going to get them at 5-6 to win games? And at home, look at that: 2-0 versus Luton, 1-0 versus Swansea, 1-0 versus Derby, 1-0 versus Watford. Okay, 2-2 against QPR.
2-0 up, so you got early payout.
There you go. But then it's 4 clean sheets, and it's still, don't really want to go away too much from the fact that this is, I think Jimmy's called it Wilder 2.0, and this new, more defensive.
Stole that from me. That is
defensive
How
focused,
the hell
that is
did I say that from
defensive
you?
absolutely
focused
disgusting.
approach.
That was me.
So,
Joe,
what
Townsend,
makes me edgy here
Joseph.
is looking back, and I wanted to bring this up early in the podcast, and this is very much a Jimmy point, which I agree with, is the low margin teams are just really, they're the ones that are stitching us up this season. So Millwall to beat Derby, Crewe to beat Salford last week, they were always going to be the low margin wins. The week before, Gillingham to beat Accrington, Barrow against Morecambe, both of those lost, low margin teams. Week before, West Brom against Millwall, same. Bolton just really unreliable this season, drew. MK Doms haven't got going. Sheffield United we had in to win at Portsmouth, low margin team. It's that those low margin sides, if we can avoid them, that would be good. And Sheffield United are really, really struggling to create clear-cut chances this season. So, it might come together spontaneously for them against Stoke, but it looks unlikely. They are relying on moments of brilliance or a bit of fortune. They're not a team where you're like, they're going to romp to a comfortable home win.
I would say from a data perspective, to give you this, Stoke, in terms of expected goals and chances created, they've had 6 games under Pelic since he's been in charge. Nancy Pelosi, as I keep calling him, as I said last week.
Don't get it.
3 of those games, politician, 3 of those games have seen them concede chances worth 2 XG or above in that game. Swansea 2.04, Bristol City 2.51, Middlesbrough 2.45. Hull, when scoring 3, got 1.93. Portsmouth, even though they got battered 6-1, I think you throw that game out in terms of what Portsmouth did because it's irrelevant, isn't it?
Cannon.
Norwich
clinical.
1.52. So defensively, you talk kind of the low margin things. The Blades should be getting a fair few chances to score in this game, and if not,
Absolutely.
then it is actually a bit like alarm bells start ringing a little bit at that point.
And I'm
back to feature go. Borough, Leeds, okay. And Wilder said, well, we've
away trips.
not played a team as good as that. Fine, it happens. But then if obviously then they don't beat Stoke, then it is a bit like, okay, now panic a little bit starts to settle in, even though we're at an early stage. It's a great bounce back opportunity, surely, for them. Surely it's a good chance to bounce back.
Yeah, I feel like that.
And it's a price thing. It is a price thing. If it's 8-13, I'd be a bit more like, okay. But you are pushing 5-6 on a Sheffield United team who everyone was the phrase waxing lyrical about it.
I think the correct
Of a week.
phrase is saying they are very bloody good.
Lady, I don't know if it was.
We'll get there. Yeah, I just feel like the price is a bit of a knee-jerk reaction to 2 poor results against 2 very good sides, and even the one at the Riverside, Raksaki had one cleared off the line.
Yes, Luke Ayling off the line, didn't he?
Just
You
a whisker. I'm not
it's
saying
one of those games where he's top 5 margins. If that goes in, they win the game 1-0.
Real fine
and
margins.
not even thinking about it.
And Bury deserved to win. I'm not saying that they didn't, but quality of chances, it was pretty even. And again, Sheffield United, Fredbear made lots of rotation, and I think part of the issues offensively is because he's sticking with Kiefer Moore and what he makes up in physicality and link-up play. He lacks a lot in terms of just general ability.
Footballing ability.
Yeah, he's not. I loved him at Ipswich. I thought I did. Highlights reel. I thought, "Pwah, this is a player. He's a bit of me." But watching him 90 minutes every week, he's no Ollie McBurney. And we've got Tyrese Campbell on the bench, and he looks a handful.
What I would say as well, if we had the blades, I think we're at a point where we can just do a fourfold and we don't have to overcomplicate it this week.
How long have we been talking about this game?
Too damn long.
Shall we put the proverbial pin in it? Because
No, let's
You
take
want
it.
it?
Let's take it.
want it?
Just think, Joe's slowly nodding away.
Democracy
I'll tell you
Manifest.
what,
We've
for-
just whittled him
in-
down.
in the interest of fairness-
2-1, isn't it? So
Yeah, and also just to make Joe feel better, should we talk
Yeah.
very, very only, and I mean a split second thing on this. Sheffield United Middlesbrough, who tipped no goal scorer?
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Who tipped latte laugh?
last they'll have to score first.
Thank you.
Each
So
way.
Joe's happy.
Is he?
You're happy.
I'm not happy.
Everyone's happy.
Saying that was the worst thing that could happen to me in that game. Tipping 0-0 against the team I support, we concede late, fucks my bet up, and it's someone who's gone directly against me. He's won. I was at the pub, I didn't take any electronics with me. And I thought, for fuck's sake, I know what's waiting when I get back. I know what's
I
waiting.
tell you what, well, good for you as a fan that they can bounce back with a win over Stoke. Woo! How about that?
Yep.
We'll take it. Because if we add this in, the Acca is pushing 6-1, and we've only got 3 teams in it. Happy?
Yeah, I couldn't be happier.
Yes. Third pick of this week's Acca, democracy prevails. Sheffield United 2 beat Stoke. We've got 3 teams in so far. One comment, Clabas Tide 87. Said on, I think it was on our YouTube community post, always want to know your bets, what you're thinking for this week. Long shot, they sent in Derby, Crewe, Cambridge, Port Vale and Swindon. 5-fold long shot there. We've mentioned none of those teams. So, Joe, who are you pitching as potentially the 4th? And considering the price, maybe final, depending where we go. Is it one of those 5?
I mean, I can't remember the name. Clabashat?
Yeah, we'll go with that.
And yeah, I mean, Port Vale are bloody flying, aren't they? That's
They've
not a
got
bad
Wimbledon,
shout, but they're a big price because Wimbledon are doing okay as well. But is it 7 wins in a row or something in all comps now for Port
I'll
Vale?
go with that, yeah.
Yeah, Darren Moore knows how to get the most out of a team that should be good, doesn't he? So, yeah, they're looking good in League Two. But no, it is not any of those 5 teams. I'm sticking with one of the teams that delivered for us last week. And the National League, as I said last week, has been a happy hunting ground for us this season. And I was really surprised that I actually noted this down when it was at 4-5. So Forest Green to win at Woking, and it's drifted out to 19-20 top price. So Forest Green, top of the league. Only defeats all season have been away to Barnet and Oldham, who are another of the big spenders in that division, both 1-0. Woking have won once in 10, no win in 7. The 19th in the league, and this is the extra little kicker for me. So Woking played last night away at Solihull. So for the geographers amongst us, Solihull's in the Midlands. Wokin's down in Surrey.
Jimmy went to point at the camera there and has punched his microphone.
So they would have got back
Audio listeners.
in the early hours of Thursday morning. They lost 2-1. And Forest Green played at home on Tuesday. So in terms of recovery time, it's a massive difference when you're talking about a non-league team and the resources they have at their disposal. Forest Green have been in the Football League for a good few years, the biggest budget in that league, against Woking, who are a proper non-league outfit. I know they are full-time trainers now. But, yeah, I'm all over this at the bigger price than I initially marked it down for.
I mean, it's effectively good team versus not good team. Not as good a team. In its simplistic form, Jim Rod.
Somebody said it. Finally, somebody said it. I wonder how many geographers there are who listen to the show.
How many geographers are there? Full stop?
Actually, I probably need to say it for the non-geographers. That's what I meant.
Yeah, the geographers will know that.
Yeah.
Scoffing at you.
If geographers is the right word.
You know where Woking was.
London, isn't it?
Yeah, somewhere in England, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's helpful information.
Most
I
of
actually got an A in geography A level.
We'll discuss that in the office. I don't believe you straight away.
I got 100% on one of the tests.
You're going to have to send us that.
I did.
transcript.
Right, we're going to need some evidence. Next week, Jimmy will bring in his geography A level.
No, it's bad to lie when you're
Quiz me on geography.
It's bad to lie when you're applying for jobs. So just want to let you know.
Oh, that'll be a bonus episode next week. I'm going to do a geography quiz for you.
Ask
I'm
me a
expecting
question
100%.
Yeah, I just asked you a question.
I'll ask you a
where
question
Woking
now.
was.
Do you think Forest Green will beat Woking? There's your question.
Hey, oh, yeah, I do. I've got a really good feeling about this.
I have nothing else to add. And to be fair, if we do this, the fourfold, very nice price. 12 to 1. That could be this week's Acca. We could all get out of here happy.
Won the Champions League with Woking on Football Manager a good few years ago. The Cards. Yeah, I got a statue outside the stadium.
So you know
so
exactly about what they're all about. And they aren't going to win this
So
weekend.
it breaks my heart going against them this weekend, but, needs must.
Yeah, this is an emotional hedge then, that if Forest Green don't do it, you go, well, I've got, my lads have picked up at least a point.
Yeah. Emotional hedge
There we go.
and happy trees.
What a way to finish. 12 to 1.
Come on, the vegans.
12 to 1, that fourfold then, which we all seem on agreement here with. And that fourfold is as follows. We're going for Aston Villa to beat Bournemouth in the Premier League. In the Sky Bet Championship, it's Sheffield United to beat Stoke. In League One, it is Wickham to beat Leyton Orient. And then in the National League, it is Forest Green for an away win at Woking. Too many W's, too much of a tongue twister there. Remember to keep it fun, never bet more you can afford, and please gamble responsibly. And make sure you get in touch with us on social media as well. Search Sport and Life Football, you'll be able to find us that way. Read out one of the long shot selections earlier on. Let us know what you're backing, if you like our picks, if you don't, if you're taking any out, adding any in, etc. We will read out the best ones on next week's show. And head over to sportlife.com/football at midday on Friday to find the link to back that at an enhanced price. Dom, our producer, shouts at me every week going, we need more subscribers. Not enough people are subscribing, apparently. So subscribe, rate, follow us, whatever the technical terms are, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We will be back next week.